So tonight I'm going to be teaching as if I am just teaching it without the book. I will reference the section from your book. I can't promise that I'm even going to look at the book very often though. It might just be a quick, if you feel so led, later you can check these pages in the book. I have uploaded this document. I will share my screen. So this Word document that's on my screen right now is under session 10. It's called Application Unit 3, and it covers everything that I'm covering in my lecture. So we're going to start with how we can finish that application unit. So from here on out, we're going to be working on our small application unit instead of the 3-story building. We've done as far as we're going to do with the 3-story building, except for later we might take some renderings of that building that we could use for our future portfolio. So things we need to go back and add into this application unit, and we need to remember, are creating ceilings for our application unit, creating the floor for our application unit, adding restroom fixtures and cabinetry in our application unit, and then adding furniture and materials to our application unit. So all of this is under that Word document. You can download it and follow with me in real time, and then you could type any of the notes from the video that's in process right now on top of what's already here for you in the Word document, because this is a different format than the book, right? I don't have time every week to give you much more than my Allison Green note, which is just an outline for me to control this video instead of saying, go here, go here. It'll all happen in the video, but the video and this basic outline together are equaling what we might have got from the book with less confusion. All right, I'm going to stop recording right now because I am going to go grab my book. It's the only piece of the puzzle that I'm missing, just in case I do want it for any purpose tonight. So I'll restart my recording. I have open Amber's first application unit assignment that she turned in. I'm just going to use it. It has everything I kind of need. So it has a roof, it has windows and doors. And then it has basic wall outlines and a few interior walls and doors that I can play with to give you the idea of everything that we want to learn. So what do we need to review for our ceilings? So for our ceilings, creating our building ceilings, we want to go under architecture, and I think I edited this. We want it to say ceiling. Okay, so when we go into our Revit program, it's really simple, architecture, ceiling. When we want to add our floor, we go to architecture, floor. If I want to add ceilings into this space, I think someone asked me today both about the floor and the ceiling. They said, I'm kind of tentative about putting in my walls in here because I don't want to have a detriment to me adding a floor at a later time. Is it okay? Yes, it's totally okay. If anything you're going to learn from me in these videos, I want you to understand when I'm teaching it, we want to have some basic understanding we can apply always. I want you to understand how Revit works at a very simple level so that you don't have to be in fear of what's going to happen next. I feel like the book is causing us to overanalyze every little thing. So I do want to do automatic or sketch ceiling in the upper right hand corner. If you try to do automatic, it might say, oh, it's too disjointed. Who cares? So maybe Amber has some holes in her walls, or maybe it doesn't like the fact that we have 100 walls because that's the way I told you to do it because there's so many undulations in the wall. So, oh well, I'm just going to sketch my own ceiling. So I can click on sketch ceiling. Now I'm going to tell you two options tonight. So you could spend your time doing every individual room, but you're free sketching, just as if you were sketching on paper. So sure, I might say I'm going to come into my mechanical room back here, and he doesn't need to be anything super special like a tiled ceiling. He just needs to be a gypsum board ceiling, pretty basic. I'm not accessing anything special for equipment. So I'll click my check mark. So we have our ceiling placed for that room, although we can't really tell that from our floor plan level, and because we didn't choose a pattern, right, like our book had us do for our assignments in the book, we can't see where it is, and it also makes it really hard to toggle through and grab it. So when I hit tab, or if I tab from the wall, it's almost impossible to find that boundary line that I want for my ceiling. So when I am adding a ceiling, instead of just going sketch, add my ceiling, now it's here. Let's see if I go into my view and I do 3D view. And I also want you to think about how you're controlling your model. So if I get into a 3D view from the floor plan, you shouldn't have any fear about hiding things to look at things. So right now I'm just highlighted by clicking on this ceiling, and there you can see is my ceiling that's showing up there in the room that I drew, right? So I'm going to right click on this roof because it's in my way, and I'm going to do hide in view elements, and it's just hiding it in the floor plans views 3D, not in my overall 3D. So now I have access to look at this, and I also have a clearer way to click and edit my ceiling than I would from a floor plan view because I didn't give it a pattern, which gives me an easy boundary to click on. So in this case, if I want to edit it, I want to change the height because my wall height, I could put the adjusted height in here, and you can watch it move. I can even click on it and move it manually if I wanted to. So using our move tool, I could pull it up further than the level that it's at. But hopefully, you know, we'd know our walls are at 10 foot. We could set this to 10 foot. So I have a ceiling, technically, a gypsum board ceiling for that room. If I wasn't happy with it, I'll click my modify really quick and hover until it's highlighted. And I did decide later on I want it to be 2 by 2. I could just change it. Now it's really hard for you to see what's happening, so I'm just going to delete and hover until you can see what's that anything to do with that 2 by 2. Notice the ceiling's not even contingent on the walls. We don't have to live in fear at night. Oh my gosh, if I add this, will this do that? It's all about, there we go. See, there's the pattern. The pattern's on the underside. It is applied. It's as easy as if I don't like the gypsum board, I come into my selector. When I have the ceiling selected, I drop it down. I pick whichever I want, 2 by 2 or 2 by 4. My computer's thinking. All right. So I have a ceiling. It wasn't contingent upon its walls. So even if I keep deleting the walls, this is just like a floating plane in space that's editable. Editable by clicking it, highlighting it in my 3D view, typing in what I want it to be and changing its material. Not contingent upon the walls, which makes it a really free, easygoing process to add both the floor and the ceiling because they aren't going to give you a big warning message if something goes wrong. So let's go back because I've really cut this guy to shreds. I'll go back in time. Okay, so let's look at our level 1. That's if I want to spend the time doing every individual ceiling. Now, in my Word document, I said we could do individual rooms or we could do through walls, which I'll show in a minute. It's neater to do individual and it's more professional. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a grade difference between an A and a B, but I'm just telling you it's more control to do every individual space. Now, some spaces, it might be a long continuous ceiling, so we can do a larger shape. The other thing you want to look at, I was just thinking about things we all need to have in common, is we want it to be that. And really, now that I'm looking at it in here, so if you hit check, then it's permanently your ceiling. You just can't see it unless you add a pattern. I'll show you how to add a pattern here in a little bit. But really, we could have either put it on level 1 and moved it up to the 10-foot height, or more reasonably, if we wanted to go into level 2, and we could hide this in view, her roof, for a minute, we could do level 2 at an offset of 0, so it's on its very own level when we add the roof. So if I go to architecture and I go to ceiling, and I could say it's on level 2, but I make my offset 0, and then I sketch my sketch. This might give me more control because there's less going on this level, right? So if I do my check mark and I have a ceiling like this, then I can clearly see that line and edit it. So if you want more control over the situation, less lines to look at, you're grumpy already with the floor plan being under the other floor plan, then let's move it to level 2. We'll make our height offset 0, and that should mean it's on the floor of level 2, which is the ceiling of level 1. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, good. So I'm just giving you options. I want you to feel the freedom of having options, okay? And that they're the same thing. They're just moving a plane, just like in SketchUp. We're just moving something in space and we're controlling it with layers. The availability and usability of that is contingent upon its layer, and that's all you really need to know. So if you put it on level 2, you need to be on level 2 to edit it, okay? So if we were having issues, we put it on level 2, and we were still having issues maybe finding it, or we just wanted to know which ones we did which way, we could go into our level 2 floor plan, which is pulled up right now, and under visibility and graphics, we could change our ceilings to have patterns. So we could override them, and visible and pattern, and I could pick any of these themes, gypsum, plaster, and click OK, and click Apply OK, and there would be a pattern. So if you were going to do it on the first floor, and I just want you to realize the pattern is only for you to see it, grab it more easily, know that you have it in there, okay? So it makes more sense really on level 2, let's be honest, to do it on level 2 at an offset of 0. But if you were going to do it on the first level and you wanted to see it, or you ever just wanted to see it, you're adding a pattern, but this pattern is not representative of what you see in the 3D. It's just saying, okay, this is a thing. This is a ceiling, and now you can see its pattern. So when I go into my 3D view, I will still see on the underside whatever this material is. So that says it's gypsum board. If I change it to 2 by 2, notice this dot pattern doesn't change, even though I picked gypsum board as the pattern for the top. It's just the pattern that's helping me say, okay, this is separate from a wall, is separate from the floor. Okay? So you can or cannot do that as long as you can see clear boundaries, having it on the second level at an offset of 0. All right, so let's go into our view, our 3D view. I'm going to hide this in view by elements. So there you see, I did not lie to you. There's my ceiling from the second floor with the offset of 0. It saved me the problem of having to move it up and down because it was already like, okay, this is ground level of 2, which is the top of 1, which is smart, okay? So even though I made it that kind of plaster pattern, here's my other sad roof, which I don't want anymore. If I come down here underneath this and I rotate, you can already see it on the edge, right? The pattern that is in reality on there. You can see line, line, line. And I'm just having some rotating issues. There's too many walls. Amber's confined it. I'm stuck in space, but you believe me, just from the edge. It's wanting to do this odd 1-point perspective. All right, so not so hard. We remember a little bit about ceilings. We remember that they're not so scary. Okay, so let's go into level 1 and let's talk about ceilings through walls. So they had us do everything very neatly like I was just showing. I guess I really want to be in level 2 to continue this nice pattern of the 0 offset. So if I go back to architecture and I go to ceiling, and I have to do sketch ceiling, unless you have some really clean geometry and it just, when you hover over it, wants to do automatic ceiling, which more power to you and your awesome skills. But if you don't, and say we have this big open space, remember ceilings are just lines that I'm drawing. So I could even start from here. Let's say I want a portion of this straight up. You can tell by the dashed lines coming down to here and to here. And then I click check. And this portion of the open ceiling I want to be 2 by 2s, but this portion can be plaster because they don't need a lot of wiring or access. This is where they're accessing the main lines of both the plumbing and the heating. So if I want that to be accessible, I would pick something like 2x4. I want to make sure that its offset is 0 as well, and it's on level 2. And then you can see it checkmarked just fine. So we're just drawing shapes. They're free floating. They are not attached to our walls. They're in space, no fears. So you could cover a lot of ground if you knew that this was all going to be 2x2 on this side over here, and I wanted to do a ceiling. I could have done something which I think is a little sloppy, but you know, I don't know, if your baby's crying in the background, our materials homework ran over, I have to get this done, and all of this is going to be 2x2 ceiling. So I can select what I want it to be, and I can click my check mark, and that whole space is done. It didn't matter that there's walls separating the space because my ceiling is not contingent on my space. Should we not go over the tops of walls? I would prefer you not. I think it's best practices to do it, but I'm just saying we all have different time limits and what we can do. You're not going to tell the difference where it matters. So where you would tell the difference is why it would matter. So like maybe we want to do this really fast because we don't have time this week, or in the 2 weeks that you'll really have to do this to do it exactly accurate. Show me you know how to do it. But why it would matter, Amber, is if eventually, so really, trying to figure out how many plans I want for you to do, and if I really want you to do a ceiling plan in here at all, because I'm not a big fan of Revit ceiling plans. So if we wanted to do the ceiling plan in here, let me see what happens. Maybe we'll change it all up. So either way is fine. That's what I want you to know. These are all just plan levels. So Amber's got me thinking now. And this is if you want to do the ceiling plan in here. Yes, Amber, if you want to do a reflected ceiling plan in this program instead of by hand for your other class. So in here though, and if we did it in ceiling plans, which would also be fine, and we did our ceiling, right, we can do ceilings anywhere we want to do them. And I'll go to modify. Remember, this just minimizes, it's always highlighted green, and I can find it if I click in the background. So this would be the even better place to put it. I like my level 2 because I was just trying to keep it all to my first plan so I didn't have extra sheets. This is even better. So maybe you can do it on here. And if we do it on the reflected ceiling plan, you can't hear me? Can anyone else hear me? Okay, they said they can hear me. I don't know what happened, Jordan. So let's say we're going to do a true reflected ceiling plan. So sure, let's all move instead of this. Although it's possible to do it on level 2 with your roof plan and then have it all be in there, it's not going to affect anything. Let's put it on our ceiling plan. And maybe I'll say that for homework so it's super specific. But if we do it on our ceiling plan and we don't do like a nice clean room by room where for this open space I come in and I outline all of this, when you print your ceiling plan, you'll see the boundary lines where you don't want them. Does that make sense, Amber? That would be the detriment. I bet there's a way to hide individual ones or make them invisible. Let's see. Maybe like with the other program where we have them. But what Amber's getting at, and also don't forget, when you have a nice rectangular space like this, we could click a rectangle instead of drawing our lives away. So we have this roof in here for our ceiling plan. And then let's say we want to do this space out in here though, and I had just drawn this big rectangle in here. So architecture, ceiling, sketch. I'm lazy. I want to draw a quick rectangle for this whole space. Then let me make sure why it's not showing up on here. Let's do, and let me go to level 1 because it could be I'm conflicting with myself, and I'll delete out all my extra roofs I've been drawing, my ceilings. Okay. So let me do a view and a 3D view, and I will orbit up. Make sure I've deleted everything out from those other two plans, and we'll see which works better, doing level 2 for this application unit or a reflected ceiling, if I want to cover that much ground. Okay, so if I go into my ceiling plan, and I'm going to go to Architecture, Ceiling, Sketch, Offset, and let's do it at the offset of the wall height. So 10 foot is technically what they were supposed to be at. And let me do a rectangle, and the offset is still maintained. So let's pretend I'm going to do this space in here. Hold on, my keyboard's getting away from me. I feel like snapped. Ceiling, sketch, rectangle. From here, there we go. Okay, so then if I go into my view and my 3D view, it keeps drawing them at the floor level. So if I check it and I say I've got this and height from offset of level, let me see what level it's saying, because that would help me. From level.
Allison?
Uh-huh.
Do you think it would need to be a negative 10, so instead of going down 10 to the floor, it would be going up 10?
Maybe. Let's see.
Like kind of what we did for the arched one and the other
Yeah,
like
that'd
3
be
foot
kind of,
offset.
well, look, I just made it 10 for that one, and now it's up. But it didn't like the 10-foot offset when I had done it from the actual program. So like here, when I put 10 positive, 10, but you're saying for the initial, maybe it dropped 10 and I needed to just have 10 negative at the beginning?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So Sam's saying if we're in the ceiling plan as opposed to level 2, we delete these out so that we can create new ones. Let's go into ceiling level 1, and then we'll go into architecture, ceiling, and she's saying height offset from level. She wants it to be negative 10. But it's from level 1, so negative 10 from level 1. I'm assuming it's going to go down, but we'll try it, Sam. So if we do that, and then we do our rectangle, okay, and check, and then we go into our view. So it did go lower. So it must have just been something wonky about the first try of it, because when I did put 10 the second time, so architecture, ceiling, let's do 10 foot and sketch, draw, I'll do a rectangle from here to here, and hit enter just in case, even though, because it won't let me click apply. And then here it says offset 0, 0. Let's see if both of those things have to be 10 right from in here, and then hit check, and then go to view, 3D view. Okay, so that worked. So it'd be positive 10, positive 10 in the offset and from the offset of the level.
Hey, Allison.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one offset that was kind of up at the top, I think that's for like almost like an overhang type offset.
Do you think it didn't adjust it at all in here? You
Well,
know
when
what I
you
mean?
went to, I think it's because you didn't draw after you did it. I think if you went to try to sketch your roof with that 10 in,
Let's try it.
then it gives you like a 10.
10-foot overhang?
Yeah.
So you think it was okay to do offset from level 10 and not touch it at the top? Because we tried it once and it like betrayed us. So
because I think when you tried to draw it the first time, it was showing your rectangle like really large
okay.
with the overhang.
So let's do ceiling, and we'll try it without adjusting anything, but it's offset from level. Automatic ceiling sketch, rectangle. 10 is already set down here, and we want to be in our ceiling plan, not our 3D. 10 and 0. So if we go in here, and check mark, and then when we go into our 3D view, it's fine. So really it's just the offset from level, so it must have just been a strange instance the first time. So then if we have that, it should be fine. Now in here, interesting enough, I mean, we could give them all patterns eventually, our portions of our ceiling plan, but it doesn't give us the lines. When we do it on level 2, we clearly see the lines. So it would be really up to you, because we're not using our level 2 for anything besides drawing this and maybe to create a roof, which I can have hidden when I go to print it. But what I was trying to say is, so on the ceiling plans, it seems to nicely hide the boundary lines in between them. But in here, if I had come in and done architecture, ceiling, sketch, and then I was like, okay, I want to do half of this, but I want to go through the walls, then you would end up seeing, why is it only doing it sometimes? Edit boundary. So now it's hiding it. So in here it showed it. Maybe it's because I've only selected certain things. Would it have worked out better if we sketched the ceiling on the ceiling plan level? So I think there's two options, Heather. You could do it on level 2. I was just thinking that, like, here we have these clear outlined boxes, so 2 by 2 ACT ceiling. And so I was thinking, if we go on the ceiling plan level, it didn't do any of those defined boxes. But it seems to be fine either way. So because we're not doing a lot of different plans with our application unit, you could do it on level 2 and hide the roof and still end up with a fairly normal ceiling plan. The only problem would be, let me see, you would see the doors. So let's do it in the ceiling plan view, although what I don't like about their ceiling plan, and what makes it feel like not a ceiling plan to me, is it's still showing me the doors. So in a way, it's 6 to 1, half dozen to the other, because as a technical drawing, it's still showing the wrong information, showing the same information. Let's see my chat. Would have worked better. Did you have the pattern on the ceiling? No, I had it for all ceilings in that view. So it should have been anytime there's a new ceiling, then it gets applied to it, because it wasn't like generally type 2 ceiling, 2 by 2 gets it. Only ceilings get it. But yes, so it makes more sense to do it in ceiling plan, but in our case, once we delete our underlayer with these odd notes, there's not going to be any difference. We're showing the doors. Now it might show the furniture, but we can turn the layers like a transparency off. So we can do it in ceiling plan, because at least it gets all that junk out underneath it. So let's do it in ceiling plan because it makes sense. It seems to be working normally.
Hey, Allison?
Yep.
If you go to level 1 ceiling plan,
Yeah.
and then in the properties bar, go to the view range.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so I just need the height to change?
Yeah, and then I think it'll get rid of your doors.
So properties on my level 1 ceiling plan, and go to my view range, just like with our, and do level above level 2.
I think it's right. I think if you change that 7.6
to 10,
or even like 9, because that's
above
the doors.
Great.
Yeah.
Check, check, and check. So you could do all your ceilings on here. If you're Now, I don't think you do 2x2 ceiling tiles for everything though. That's just not normal. It doesn't seem like a good design to me either. It'd be kind of gross to have that everywhere. You'd want to switch between 2x2s and 2x4s and gypsum where it makes sense. Like maybe in the break room is usually where you might just have gypsum. In the bathroom, quite possibly you would have gypsum. In small offices, you could have gypsum unless they need a lot of technology support. And then the rest of the area is where you would have your 2x2s or your 2x4s. So let's see. And our ceilings were all added, although it didn't look like you were doing it on here. So let me think if I want to pattern them on here so it'd be easier to see. So ceiling, sketch ceiling, and let's say this weird little room wants his own ceiling. Okay, and he's going to be a 2x2, and he's room bounding. Okay. And let me look at his edit type. And I want to see if in here at this point, if this would make anything show up on this that we want to keep track of as a pattern. Or if the coarse fill would only show up in a different view. Okay, so it doesn't adjust him there. And let me make sure, I'm going to change it to medium too while I'm in here. So if I go to my view, and my 3D view, I had my big long cheater guy here, but you can see there he is on plan. So you can check with your 3D view from your 2D plan and make sure that you're getting all the rooms. It's better to just chunk it off. So you could do this whole big open portion as one thing, but little rooms do need their own roofs. Not this guy who doesn't really have a wall. He's probably part of the big portion, but this room, this room, this room, this one, they need their own ceilings. But notice how it doesn't, I mean, it matters because like, I think it was Katie was just talking. Like we can control the height on here to only show it so then we get rid of our doors so we're showing the right cut plan of what a ceiling plan would look like. And then but it doesn't really matter because they're just little pieces of paper. That's what I want you to feel the freedom of. We can delete them, add them. If we mess something up this week, we can move it. We'd even copy it from a level 2 floor plan onto a ceiling plan and paste it, and it would still work out. All right, so floors are similar. So let's agree to do ceiling plan. And your homework, I'm pretty sure under the rubric, which we'll look at tonight, says try different materials. So don't just do all gypsum. Don't just do all 2x2s. Do a majority, some maybe, and then a couple of rooms different. It's a really small space though, so you want variety. All right, so let's go into our level 1 floor plan. And let's look at this. So let's change this to ceiling plan, and I can update this before we leave class today. And we'll say offset, it should be 10. Now, if you wanted it to be lower for some reason in rooms, I wouldn't say by more than a foot or 2 foot higher. So not one way or the other without good reason. Offset 10 foot to match walls. Okay. So individual rooms or through walls, you really have that option, but it's neater to do individual rooms. And then we could add visibility with patterns like we did on level 2. If we really wanted to, you can click on the floor plan and change the visibility of ceilings. So we could change this to be just add visibility. Graphics, graphic pattern, to tell pieces apart and be able to edit them. For hidden objects, we'll come back to that. Our creation of our floors, it's the same as our ceilings. For that one, since we do only have level 1, we want to be in our level 1 floor plan. And we could go to architecture and floor. Sure, I'll save the project. Oh, Amber, I have the ceiling, but how do I change each segment to be different? Like each of the patterns to be different? Or you mean each of the types? So like I want gypsum board, I want 2x2, 2x4. Types. So that's just at the point of creation, like when we're in this draw mode, under the properties selector, you select the type before you finish, although after the fact, if you do create a fill pattern that you can select the boundary for it, then you can click on it and it'll highlight that, and then over in the type properties you can drop the arrow down and select it after the fact and change it later on. So when we were in architecture, let's go back. We were in ceiling plans, level 1. Right when we're in here for our architecture, my guy's stuck. Okay. Ceiling plan, level 1. And then I want to do my draw. I want to get out of the floor really quick. So architecture, ceiling, amber, and then sketch. Right at this point, when I go to sketch it, I can have this in the option that I want for the type. There's 2x2, 2x4, and gypsum should already be in there automatically. And then when I draw it, it will already be whatever was in that type selector when you did it. Let's see if under here, hidden line. Yeah, that's what I want for that. Okay. If we go under our visibility overrides, common edges. So I don't want it to be transparent. Patterns, visible, color, pattern. Let me see what happens if I do this, if it'll change all of them or none of them. So maybe that's something I'll have to post later, because you saw in our level 2 one, I was able to create patterns for each of my ceilings and have them show up with that pattern. But it's as if when we're in our ceiling plan, and even when I'm in my ceiling floor plan, and I'm in my visibility and graphics, my ceiling patterns to show up. They don't want to show up. So that I want to figure out for you, because if you were to mess something up and you lost a portion of your ceiling in here, you need to have those boundary lines. Clearly they exist because we see them in our 3D view where this guy is. And I could edit it this way, Amber. So it's just frustrating to me because I can't tell you how to do it in plan view, but if you can't figure out how to do it under the type selector right away, then you can go to a 3D view from your ceiling plan level, and you can click on here and you can change it at this point too, and it will have change. You can change it to any of those 3 things. But as far as getting its edges to show up so you know what you've covered, that I'll have to figure out for you later and post a video tomorrow, because I do want to move on to the floor. So let's look at our floor. Let me go back to level 1, floor plan. And we go into architecture, floor. And it's the same way. We have drawing lines, or we have rectangles, circles, and different shapes. And this is the same way as the ceiling. So it's just a plane that's falling underneath. I'm going to pick a wood truss with a carpet finish. just because I know I want to adjust that carpet finish eventually, but I'm going to show you in materials how it doesn't really matter. So I'm picking this first, and then I'm going to draw my boundary. Just like I said for the other things, we're on the first floor plan in this case, which is true. So the other one we changed the ceiling, but this we're in first floor plan. We can put our floor and we can draw a really nice clean line, which is what the hope would be, following all the walls. But once we get our floor in here, we could have covered this whole area and gone through the walls, and it would still be fine. The walls are not going to affect how we have our carpet placed in the floor plan. So there is my carpet. And then I'm going to show you how to adjust the materials of your carpet later on. But you could do all over by drawing all your boundaries. You could do individual rooms, drawing boundaries, or rectangles, but your walls do not affect it. Does that make sense to everybody? It's just as happy as our ceiling. Okay. All right, so we have this guy in here, and in our floor plan, let's see if we go into here and we find our floors and we make them not visible, maybe after the fact, and click OK, apply OK. That will get rid of that pattern. So it's under our floor plan. We want to see floor plan up here in the properties, visibility and graphics overrides, edit, and then anything we don't want to see, in theory, it wasn't working well with our reflected ceiling plan, but I know from past experience with our other things from the book, under floors, if I go under patterns and override for it to not be visible, it'll still be there, but its pattern will not show up. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn it back on for now, just so we have an idea of where it is, and we can mess with its materials later. It gives me that nice clear line for the floor right in there that I'll grab onto. Okay, so floors are pretty easy. I had put create floors, draw on level 1 floor plan using boundary lines, and also I gave you where we did floors in our book on 7.1 through 7.10. You can draw individual rooms or go through. It's neater to do individuals, and we can change the visibility under floor plan just like I did in the last portion, and we can edit the material per this video. So we'll come back to that. We do general materials. Add restroom fixtures and cabinetry. So in our book, that's on pages 11.1 through 11.16. This is what we would have covered last week, and it's really simple. So I have the chain of command right here. It's architecture, components, plumbing, architectural, fixtures, water closets. So just get used to the idea that architecture and component is going to bring in all loads of families. So when we bring in families, that's groups of large things like furniture, it's fixtures, it's cabinets. Just like under annotate was those detail items, this is where we bring in the brunt of all of our fixtures, furniture, our FF and E for our project. So it's under architecture, component, and then from there, it wants to place this desk, which it's already found in here. But for me, I want to be in my manage. And maybe I'll place one desk just in here for later for our materials. So I want to be floor plan, component, load family. Under load family, I'm going to go into my plumbing. Just think bathrooms, plumbing, architectural, and then there's fixtures and equipment. So I'm going under fixtures, and then water closet is what they call a toilet. So if I want a water closet, there's commercial wall and there's domestic, which in this case I'd probably want a commercial wall toilet, And I'm just going to bring in the 3D model and click open. So I still have the underlayer of the drawing here, and I just click it up against this wall. At first it's going to seem like it's not going to be on the wall, but it seems to adjust after you place one of them or you click to where you really want it. And I have now a toilet in here. So it's as simple as loading in a family. Now, what's not as simple is bringing in an entire vanity base, bringing in the cutout for the sink, and then bringing in the sink. It's a 3-part process. So in our notes, I've said we've got our toilets in. We could do the same for our sinks that are going to go in the vanities, but we also need a base cabinet vanity, a countertop vanity that has a square cutout, and then a square sink. We could do circles as well. So really for your homework, I don't care as long as I see the process of bringing in the 3 parts in. Yeah, you can snag files from wherever you can snag files, Heather. I'm fine with you doing Revit or any other source. We'll talk about sources tonight. All right, so let's add all of those things. A vanity base, a countertop with the cutout, and the sink I need. So again, I go into Architecture, Component, and then I want to be in my Architecture Component. It keeps getting loaded up. So whenever I get snagged up because I'm stuck placing a component, I can click Modify and click back on the floor plan to come up to my load family. So then I come to my load family and I want casework. I want to have a base cabinet. I want a vanity cabinet because it's a bathroom, not a kitchen. And I just want a single one. Now, you could do any of these. You could do single door and drawer or single door. That's your creative freedom in this. So I'll do door and drawer single, and I will open that up. And I'm going to place it. So notice when I place it, the arrows are messed up. I want it to be that way, and I want it to be that way. So if I take it and now I can rotate it, I want it to be long way. See, I keep rotating it off fully. Nope. And we'll undo my rotate. So rotate, and I just want it on this edge. I'm snapping to too much of my underlayer. I want it to be straight. I don't know why I can't do it, guys. Why I'm having my trouble with my rotate tool in there. 90 degrees, but it's doing it 360. Maybe if I type it. What do you think? Am I going crazy tonight? 90 degrees should just turn it on its end. What if I do? Yeah, I don't know. This is really strange. Almost makes me want to bring it in a different way or move it. Is anyone else trying this and you're having trouble rotating it? Because I did it earlier today and it was just fine. But it shouldn't be a 180 degree turn, and if it is, that's psychotic. So neither of those makes sense. It should be a 90 degree turn. Let me try bringing it in again. Architecture, component, load family. I will do casework, base cabinet. I'll do single door, open, and I'll just place it out here. And I'll click on it and rotate it. I don't know. This is a really odd thing.
Hey, Allison.
Yeah.
On mine, right next to where, like, I'm getting ready, if I say load family,
Mm-hmm.
it gives me the option place on vertical, face, or wait, place on face. Would that matter?
It shouldn't, because it might be thinking about like the host, like it's getting hosted to a floor or a wall, but it really shouldn't matter. I'll see if I bring it in on a wall, because I did do it earlier, and you should be able to just rotate these things. Like this thing, let's see if it rotates. It doesn't want to rotate either. So strange. So that might be because it's wall mounted. Let's do architecture, component, load family, and you were saying if we go into casework, base cabinets, this guy. Okay, I want the single one for sure. And then when I click open before I place it, rotate after placement, maybe let's see if that makes the difference. Well, I don't want, let's try it. So if I click on this and after clicking rotate, it still won't let me do it. I did not have this trouble. I'm not even kidding, in the other room. Just watching tonight. Let me Google this. Let's pick a new host. Is it that it can't find a host? It's so odd. And it always comes in sideways. Let me Google it. So, cabinet won't rotate, because it should be a really easy process. I was using 2016 this morning, and you could just rotate everything right in its own spot. Should not be a weird thing like this. Rotate work plane base component. Well, that'd be great if it was that easy. Yeah, because even like I'm hitting spacebar, it's not rotating, it's just flip-flopping about an axis. So what?
Are you trying to get it so the door's facing the door?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just clicked the arrows around it, and I have my doors facing the actual door.
Well,
I couldn't tell from like
I want it long ways. You know what I mean? Like I want it rotated 90 degrees. Because I'll show you. So if I look at my view and I go into 3D view and I look at this guy, I want it so that this door is in the front over here.
Okay, I was able to get that.
So how did you do it?
I just used the arrow.
So see,
It just flipped, and I don't know what happened to yours, but mine just...
so Jordan says it's working for her. For me, I want it to literally rotate 90 degrees this way. Like that. So, but see, that you should be able to do that not in this view, which is really frustrating. So if I'm in level 1, now it doesn't look like that, which is weird, unless that's it and I'm just going crazy. So let me move it into place and I'll take a look at it when I'm inside the space. So if I go to view and 3D view and kind of orbit around and orbit up. So I guess that's it. It just feels really strange right now because it's not the right proportions. Earlier today it was like clearly what it was what it was. So it's a 24-inch vanity single door. you can change its dimension, so that's 21 inch, just by going underneath its drop down and picking its size. So maybe it was fine, it was just an odd dimension. We'll look at it. Hopefully the cabinets for the bases in the other room come in easier. Then once we have our base cabinet of our 21 inches, we can go back up to, make sure it says floor plan here, go up to architecture, component, load family. Then we want to do casework, countertops, and we want to do vanity countertop with square hole or round. There's two different things. There's a round one and a square one, but I'm going to do the square one and open it. And then you want to align it to an edge of your existing sink base. And then you should just be able to snap it to the next edge. And then this guy needs to snap in. So like as you drag your arrows, you can get all the pieces aligned. Dragged him over himself. So drag him this way, drag his arrows in this way, and then drag this arrow in this way there. So they all just stretch and snap until it fits, okay? So it seems a little finicky, but you eventually want your edges snap, snap, snapped on all edges. And then this guy, I think you can also move him to be centered if you drag in the middle arrows, and then it'll center itself about the existing countertop. That's kind of snappy. So we brought in our countertop and we could adjust it. It wasn't like our sink base where we had to pick 21. We could just adjust it and center it and change the hole. So then once we have kind of the idea of our countertop on top of our vanity, we can go into our architecture component, load family, and we can go into plumbing, architectural, fixtures, sinks, and I am looking for, so there's a round sink, a vanity square. So we want it to say vanity so it's not kitchen depth. And I'm going to open my square guy and I'm going to center him. Now once he's centered and placed, I can click on him and his arrows and he'll flip himself around, and then he's 20 by 18. So since he's not going anywhere and he's clearly too big, I might have to adjust my vanity counter and the depth of the under vanity to be 24 again. So it's a real quick change. I do 24, and then it's just slightly bigger, and I can pull this back and align it, and then I can snap it to the inside line. And I want these arrows to be like that because you want the thickness at the back. So try to pay attention. And you can do your align tool too. So I could do a line to here, the back edge of that countertop if I wanted it to. So we see the dashed edge in the front. And then he matches up better. Let's look at our view, 3D view. So we have to make sure that our cutout is underneath our actual sink. So let's go back to our floor plan. And if we move him forward, I lost my little cutout guy. I have to drag him down and in. So pull him down in. Make sure he is under the sink so that we don't see. And it's a little wider yet. Align it. Oh, wrong guy. Okay. Okay. And then this guy, move him over. And let's double check our view. Better. So then I can mess with him. And I think we can even move him in this view if I'm right, until he's properly aligned with his cutout. So it's just a lot of finagling of stretching the different pieces, making sure you have a base that's wide enough for your sink. And it'll work out for you. There's my little guy. All right. So we've got one of those. We could easily copy all of this into the next room instead of recreating the wheel and doing it again. Did all of that make sense? Were some of you able to try that? It's just loading in families. And now, like, we've done so many families for those details that were weird families. Now these families make sense, right? Plumbing, that's where toilets are. Casework, that's where cabinetry and countertops are. Sinks are under plumbing as well. So as long as you understand its architecture component and load family and find the family that makes the most sense, it's fairly simple to bring in all your fixtures and furniture. Okay? So let's go back to our level 1. I could copy this guy over, but I'm going to make some kitchen cabinetry. And you'll see it's a very similar process, just different parts. So if I go into architecture, component, load family, I want to go to casework, base cabinets, and any of the base cabinets that are not vanity cabinets. So here's a preview of that one. We always see the preview in the upper corner. I might do a double one, and just for our sake of doing the ones that are more difficult, I'm going to do the double sink unit. So I will open him up, and I am going to place him in there, and I'm going to see if these ones rotate or not. Okay, so see how that one did rotate? That's how easy it was for me to rotate things earlier all across the board. So if I move him here, and then I could say, really, I could have aligned him with the wall to be right in line with our countertop dimension. So he's a 30-inch sink base, and then I might have some other cabinets, so I could go back to architecture, component, load family, casework, base cabinets, a 2-bin one, sure, why not? And then I could modify out, and let's see what happens with this. So that just turns it that way. Let me see if I hit spacebar, if this will flip any other ways but that way. No, so I can rotate him 90, and I can move him back, and I can click on him and align to wall. And then I could align these to each other. Okay, so now I have 2 base cabinets. Let's take a view at that in 3D view. Okay, so I've got this chubby sink base and a 2-door glass base cabinet. Now I need a countertop, a sink, and some overhead cabinets, or upper cabinets, I should say. So if I come in here and I do architecture, component, and load family, we could do casework, countertops, anything but vanity. Probably I want to do just either island with sinkhole, or let's take a look. We've got L shape. I don't want an L shape. I just want one with a sinkhole, countertop with sinkhole. Ooh, this one has that built into it. That's nice. Let's open that guy up. He saves us a whole step. So I can rotate him 90 and move him into place. And I want the sink to go over my sink base. And I want the sink base, or really the countertop, to end because I only have this many cabinets so far. So I can do my align the wall for the back portion of my guy, and then for the sink, I can move him back more. I can move his edge further up or down, right? We can pull him however we want him to be. Let's take a look at our view, 3D view. So our sink is ginormous. We'd want to adjust him so he's not coming over into our other guy. So he needs to come. Let's make sure I've got the right edge, just the sink edge. And maybe he won't, he's just a big sink and we have to place one, and he's not going to be a time saver for us. He looks like he's automatically going to stay so wide. I don't see his width changing. Yeah, it just wants to change the countertop, but it doesn't want to change the overall width of the sink itself. I'm going to move it out so you can see what's going on, because I'm not affecting the cabinets, although it kind of looks like I am. So it seems like he's a set size. The sink isn't going to change like it did in our bathroom. So in that case, he wasn't the best option, but you see how that is. So if we can't use him and he's not that fluid, we can go into architecture component, load family. It's as simple as casework, countertops. Countertop with sinkhole is the one I think I used earlier today. And then the hole was more adjustable. So he gets smaller, see, when I choose his arrows. So I just rotate him into place. And align him. Sure. And then I can move him and adjust it all. Now it looks like we've got something to be a little bit wary of, because whenever I'm aligning him, my sink doesn't want to move with him that way. So it looks like it's okay to do it this way, but then you have to manually move your sink each time into place, which might be a bigger pain than we really want to have to deal with for what we're doing. So instead of aligning him, I could have manually moved him. So view. There we go. And then I could put my sink in place, just like I did for my vanity sink. So I've got a hole that's adjustable in my countertop, and then I could place a sink. So it seems pretty good, right? Not so hard, just finding the right pieces and parts and then rotating them and locking them together. And then upper cabinets are the same as the base. They're found under the casework. We just choose upper cabinets, wall cabinets, and put them on top. They'll snap to the wall. All right, so that's a good chunk of this so far. We changed this to be ceiling plan, 10-foot offset, and then we have our floors, which were really easy, and I'll show you how to adjust the materials. We got our restroom fixtures and cabinets into place, and eventually I got it to rotate. And then we got our cabinetry for the kitchen into place. So I said get a Revit City account on 11.13 to 11.17. If you don't now, Heather was talking about how like Kohler will have some different symbols that we could use. 11.13 through 11.17 talks about loading in furniture through this method, through the families method. But on 17 it says the following sites contain content that can be downloaded: RevitCity.com, SeekAutodesk.com, RevitAutodesk.com, TurboSquid.com. So Revit City and TurboSquid, but Revit City is the only one I have an account with. It doesn't look legitimate, but it is legitimate, so I recommend getting an account with them. I'm going to focus on very legitimate sources tonight and how to change materials for our floor, walls, cabinetry, and furniture that we bring in. So I've given you in this attachment fabric websites as well as furniture websites. So my favorite fabric websites are the ones that I have listed: Maharam, Momentum. I'll pull up Momentum.
Love Momentum.
The Mom Group. You can't forget a name like the Mom Group. So if I go into Momentum Textiles, products, they just have products for days and days. So I'm going to download this Almanac one while I'm here. I just click on it and I get a pretty high definition picture. And then I think downloads high resolution. If you want an even higher one, I can save that as something memorable on my desktop. Save it as Almanac Tourmaline to my desktop. Perfect. And that'll be good for me to apply materials later to seating in my building. So those are all resources. They all have a similar effect. You go to the website, go through the product materials, and right-click to download, save a JPEG, and you then have it in your library as a source, and I'll show you how to bring it into your Revit model. For furniture, looking back at this document, Herman Miller, Steelcase, and Arcadia, Herman Miller and Steelcase are going to give you the most changeable options as per usual. Because I'm from an old Herman Miller dealership, I'm going to use Herman Miller because I love them. So when we go to hermanmiller.com, we got lots of examples of good space planning for offices. But there's some caveats that go with loading in your own furniture. So if I go to Resources, Design Solution, Group Setting, Resources, Design Solutions, Group Setting from their website. And let's say I'm going to do Workshop 3. I can click on Workshop 3, and then I can click Download. And there's options for lots of things. So AutoCAD, Revit files. I'll click Revit Option A. Option A and B just delineate between these two sets of options. So I'm going to do Option A. Okay. I've got to move all this junk out of my screen. And I'm going to save it as Workshop A. And then I'm going to open it. And it's going to upgrade the model because for some reason they haven't upgraded the model since 2014. So it'll take a little second and then it'll pop open on your screen. Usually you see the upgrading going on in the corner. It says it's at 82%. Okay. So here's what's really important. Right now, this is not in my project, but this is the time for me to edit the materials, okay? So it might be frustrating because you don't know every piece of furniture you want to put down yet, but this is how we have to do it if we want to use large groupings like this and anything from Herman Miller. So you don't have to change everything. You don't have to use everything. It's not to say you have to use everything from this family, but whatever you do want to use, you have to change now instead of changing it once you've loaded it into your project. So it's a very simple process. I'm going to edit my group. Once I am in the edit group, I have the chance to pick individual pieces. So right now I'm on the Herman Miller Seating Celeste Lounge, and you notice that under that it has materials and finishes. And right now it says the tablet arm has a certain finish, the frame finish, the fabric back. So the frames are the metal parts, like the arms where they are metal. The tablet is this top laminated portion. The back and seat are the back and seat. So let's just focus on the back and seat because I already loaded something in for the back and seat. I found a fabric that I wanted to work with. I'm going to, I think I just leave this up here. There we go. All right. So compatible materials. I'm going to click on edit type here. Not even kidding. This is so different from 2016. All right, so arm, caster's arm, metal model. Hold on. There we go. That's why. I was just clicking on the wrong box. All right, so we want to see the 3 dots. And then it'll bring up our materials library. I was like, this cannot be happening too. Okay, so here, if I click in the Word area and I get the 3 dots, I can come into the materials. So here I see the seat fabric is a Herman Miller fabric, but I want to bring in my own material or create my own material, so I'm going to actually duplicate one of their fabrics, because fabric is just the quality of what it's going to render like. So if you did metal, like a chrome, you could start with chrome and make it a matte metal. So we could choose another metal, bring in an image, and make it that. I wanted to have fabric quality like a stadium fabric, so I'm going to choose fabric as my starting point, and I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to rename it to be Mom Fabric 1, whatever you want to name it. You want to name it something you can keep track of. So if you want to do it by pattern name, or you just want to do fabric and then pattern name, whatever is going to work best for your organization. So under here, I want to go to appearance, and right now it's going, scary. So we're going to change the image anyway. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go under image, and we want to just double click in here to edit it, even though it said we couldn't edit it from the drop down. So under there, where it says source missing file, I'm going to come in and I'm going to go to my desktop where I saved that fabric. I'm going to pick my fabric JPEG. It's going to show me a preview of how it's going to print on the chair. I'm okay with that. It's usually Momentum does square one, so I could change the size by coming down here and changing it to be 4 if I want to show a bigger portion of it zoomed in a little bit, but I'm okay with this, what it's showing. So I'm going to click done, and then I'm going to click OK, and you can see that it applied the fabric to the chair. Okay, so if it was going to render it, it will render it with that. Now it's pretty tiny in retrospect, looking at it on here at that 3 inches scale. So you can look at the fabric scale on the manufacturer's website. So for Momentum, if we went back to that, themomgroup.com, they'll say there's like so much of a repeat and it's so much of a size. I'll give you all the specifications. So it's 21 inches by 29 inches for the full repeat to equal this size. So if I went into my chair here, and you can see I've changed the fabric back to be Mom fabric. I could come in and click on the white space till I get the triple dots, and I could come in here and edit its appearance again. I would want to come to the image and do edit image. It now has an image. So it's only at 3 inches. If I make this 29 inches, let's unlock this. There we go. Done, and apply, and OK. Better. Okay, so that's more what the reality of that pattern is based on the manufacturer. Yay! All right, let me check my chat. Okay, no one said anything new. It's great. Yeah, it's so fun and so easy, but it has to be done in this step. So you'll notice I'm going to click finish, and what we've done is we've created a family that's editable. I'm pretty sure it has to be, so maybe tonight I'll prove myself wrong. But then once I've finished it, I'm just going to Control-C my group, so I could copy it, and then I could minimize this window and come into Amber's project, the floor plan view of it. And I'm just going to plop all of this down in the middle. So I'm going to go to modify and paste. And I got my whole group. Okay, so let's see if we can edit our group. What you can't do, and like this comes in as a whole group too. So we could ungroup it. If we ungroup it, then it's all individual pieces. But once we ungroup it, oh, this will be so great. So I just don't like to rely on it because I had a student who this didn't work for. Let's see if we can work on it in here. That'd be great. But I'd in good practice, do it in the family when you bring it in and then bring it in here. So here it is. Here's this one. Here's this one where I've adjusted the fabric. So it looks like maybe you can, in some situations, adjust it in here. What if I want to change that one? I made it Mom Fabric 1 for its appearance, and I can go okay. So now this one is Mom Fabric and this one, so it's letting me tonight. But I know in some cases he had it where it was not able to be editable from Herman Miller and Steelcase, so I would just check it beforehand. I'd usually work on it outside. So what about a case good? So here, if we go into view, you'll see these are soft goods. They're chairs, cushiony, soft. We might have a case good or a metal good. So in reality, these are most likely metal. It says laminate here. So it's Herman Miller laminate finish, looks like it's a white, but let's say we want it to match our kitchen cabinets. I'm going to keep doing that because it's easier to click box. I could come in here and I don't have anything smashingly great. I have plywood sheeting, but I don't have any great wood choices. So we have under here our AEC materials. Let's take a look at that. Let's choose wood. So these are the ones that were kind of hidden, people had some trouble with. We've got ash, birch, birch natural, cherry, fir. So all varieties of wood under our AEC materials. So I'm going to choose the lovely cherry. It's not really beautiful in my opinion, but it'll work. I think I have some cherry in my house. All right, so I'm going to click OK, and let's see if it will, and this might prove my point. So if I have my laminate top, that's this top surround, and the door finish, if I do, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm addicted to it. My 3 dots, and let's do, I want to bring it in from our AC so we know that it works. So if I go AEC wood, maybe what I thought I dragged it up there, but I do have pregnancy brain, so I wouldn't put it past me to have not dragged it into the actual box. Let's pick this guy. So I have my softwood lumber, which is the one, and then I can click apply, and let's check his appearance. Okay. There, so now it's changed. So it's just like anything else, just like the fabric, we're just checking the correct material. So if it's fabric, we want fabric. If it's wood, it's wood. If it's metal, we want metal, okay? But that's not to say, think about this. This is like opportunities are endless. If I import a picture of my cat and I paint the chair with the JPEG of my cat, we will have cat fabric. That's how easy it is, okay? So they're all just JPEGs. Nothing special about them coming from the websites. A picture is a picture, but we do want to make sure that we're choosing the right material because that will control how it's rendered, like the quality of light bouncing off of it and how it looks. I know I should put Earl on that chair. I always do cat stuff in AutoCAD. All right, so we've got the idea of bringing in families. It's very simple and easy. What I also like about this is we're not all office space planners yet. So you're going to learn about that by researching the different companies, Steelcase and Herman Miller, and seeing some of these typicals. But that's like a good brunt of your work right there, right? And for some of you that had like gathering areas and stuff, that was a like a 5-minute thing, and then add some materials in there might be the most time consuming, but just putting the furniture in shouldn't be a big hurrah, and you don't have to pick every individual chair. You want to work smarter, not harder. So if we go back into here and we look at some of our other options, we might have some conference room options, or like right in here is kind of a unique conference room. So go through all your options and fill your space and make it easy on yourself. It's not cheating to use these. Professionals use these all the time and arrange them in different ways. That's why they have them. So there was a full conference room. You could do a weird conference room. Here's a conference room. But what's so great about it is it's not basic, okay? We're not doing basic new designer things. We're going, oh wow, we get these double wall mounted drawer sets with double screens in the middle and tackable surface. I mean, we are killing it right now, and we're gonna look so awesome doing it in an easy method, okay? So simply load in, add materials. So let's go ahead and see what they've got for us under private solutions, resources, individual settings. So a lot of you have private offices. This is a swanky one. This guy doesn't do much actual work. He just hangs out with his pals in his office. And then we have other people who have kind of these cubicle units. So this is more like group work for designers. Here's a private office. Let's do this guy. Let's bring him into our model. It comes with a chair, guest chairs, low surface, storage, main work surface, and paper management. We are winning. All right, let's do Revit. It says I want to save as, Haven, open, and upgrade my model. And I'll watch it progress in the lower corner over here. Dun, da, da, da. 86%. Okay. Oh, sad day. It rejected our shares, but that's okay. This is a good deal of work. So at this point, I could come in and edit the group, pick individual pieces. If I don't like this work surface color, it says support types. Now, this is where you might not know enough about furniture to know exactly what you're changing, but supports are things that support. So we have a left and right support for the end here. That's what that's talking about. Leg and body finishes, and then if we come in here to the drawer, we have all these finishes. So you can imagine when I was a designer, you get the wrong pole finish. So there's a finish for the top drawer, the bottom drawer, the poles, the back, the front, the sides, the base. So everything is separate from itself, and you specify it that way in the real world. It's pretty crazy. There's lots of changes that can be made. So you could have red drawer, gray drawer, silver base, and you can do a lot with branding because of it. But it means a lot of changes to the finishes in here. So maybe I would do all the tops the same to save myself time and keep the bottoms white if that goes with my concept, or just change the doors and keep the metal handles. But don't kill yourself on all those changes. Let's pick something like this. So we don't need to care about the lock finish. Door finish, we can come into our materials. We can use Herman Miller finishes, or we can just say, okay, I need more. So even Herman Miller has some wood finishes. If you want to use them, you can. I can come under my AEC materials, and I can pick wood. And again, I can bring in, let's do wood planks. That's fun. We'll bring in wood planks. When I'm in here, if I type WO, it'll take me down to the W's, which saves me time. So if I click wood planks, apply, okay. Let's see if it changed anything. I want to kind of try a couple different ones. So that was my door finish. I don't see that it's changed it very much. Let's try our top finish. It's gonna be the death of me. The top, it shouldn't make us. I'm gonna keep choosing wood planks every time. Appearance, okay. So let me see if, I just want to see if I have to be in here to edit it for this specific one. Because it seems like it's got many layers as opposed to our chair, which was a quick change. Visibility and graphic override, material and finish, 91 white. Compatible types. This one. Well, if I go back out, let me see. So let's look at our family again, because it's not changing as easily as I'd like it to. Click on our drawers. Foot finish, front finish. So if I'm going to change the graphic to be my wood planks, it's just not wanting to cooperate. Now it did change it to a grayscale. So, not everything is working as beautifully as we want. Let's see if that has to do with case goods and not soft seating. So I'm going to close out of that. And then, but when we brought these ones in, these metal ones were working just fine. So if I come back in here, got so many things open. Close out of these things for a minute. Okay, so this is back when it was a family. Before I loaded it in, if I had one of these guys, here's his finishes. Let's change his materials and finish of his door and see if it works in here or if it works in our model. So he worked. Interesting. So it seems like it was just that other model. Now I don't know if that has to do with the age of the model. It seems like it's affecting it because it still worked in its family here, and there's the same product actually. They're both Herman Miller overheads and lateral files. So I can explain that, but if you want to test it, I mean, that's why I'd test it in the family before you bring it in, see if it gives you trouble. You could try loading it into your model, but it still saves you time. So the book also gives you furniture that for sure will work. It's just not as pretty. Like they only have so much selections of chairs and so many selections of cubicle options. So I put that in here. At Office Furniture, it's 1113 to 1117. You could do the furniture on 1113. And then I said, notice materials are just references, stored, organized information. Like we could apply carpet to a wall panel, for instance. So if I come back in here and we're just going to say, okay, sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. I found it works more on soft seating than hard goods, but I feel like it's still editable, just maybe not as far as I want to go tonight for those situations where it wasn't working. So you could load them in and try a lab hour with me or another meeting instead of wasting time here, because I want you to think about materials we 100% can control in our model. So if I'm in here, got a lot going on here, got my properties open. What about if we wanted to, so let's go into our I need to adjust my properties palette over. He's sticking to my top portion. I don't want him up there, but I can't get him loose. So hold on, I'm going to save this really quick. Amber. Yeah, it's a lot like SketchUp and changing materials, Sam. And really, like, just like with the ceiling, you saw it's like, besides the walls where they're connected and you delete one and it might affect something else, we don't, and the roof, which seems to be kind of finicky too. The floor, the ceiling, and all the other materials is pretty easily applied. And what you just have to pay attention is that if it's a carpet, you use a carpet to start. If it's tile, use a tile to start, and so on and so forth. But it's just like SketchUp in that you're applying a JPEG most of the time. Ugh, it went back to the way it was. I can't get it unstickied. And when I type PP, it doesn't come off to this side like it's supposed to. Let's see. Oh, perfect. All right, so I've got it unsticky to the side. We've got this. Oh, I wanted to add a column because you guys have columns. So architectural, and I want to, let's put one right here. And then let's go into view, 3D view. Okay, and I'm going to orbit up over this. Okay, so if I'm in here, and you know we've got all of these walls started and things, and we wanted to apply our materials. So if we're in our column and we go into our edit type, and we could do material by category. When we wanted to just in one fell swoop change all of them, we could pick, let's see, does this one have brick or anything fun that we could use? I'm just going to do wood for the sake of getting it done. Click apply, and then I could have all wood columns. So I could have brick ones, I could have stone ones, I could have metal columns. I'm just applying a material. All right, so if I'm in here and I do edit type and it has structural material and finishes, not what I'm looking for, but under structure where I've created this wall, if instead of having just gypsum board as one of my finish layers, if I change it to be something else using my dot dot dots, let's say I'm going to change it to be another, I'm just going to pick the easy stuff tonight, and I click OK. Okay, so here's something I wanted to get out for tonight. When I said we could do generic walls, that's true. Now wherever you use those generic walls or certain types of walls, if you apply the material that way, like how I just did it, it's going to change it where every instance of that wall is placed. So what we could do is, if we don't want it on this wall, we could create like a duplication of that wall under the edit type and duplicate it and change the material back to whatever we want it to be, and then individually duplicate the walls out so that it's the same thickness, but it's just changing the material on top. Does that make sense? So right now, this wall is the same as this one. They're both basic wall partition 5-inch 2-hour. If I edit the type and I duplicate it and I say 2-hour, but this one is going to be diff material than that wood one, and I say OK, and then I go under this one, I'm going to edit it so it's not sash. Instead, for that one, I'm going to choose stainless steel, and I'm going to click OK. OK. So then if I select this wall and I make it, let's have it be 2-hour different material, it's now stainless steel. Now you can't tell it really well because it just looks gray to you, but let's select this one. And that one I can make diff material and it would become stainless steel as well. If I click on it and I make it 2-hour, basic 5-inch partition 2-hour, it's okay. So what was it originally? Because it seems to have an aversion to everything. So this one, if I edit its type, edit, sash, okay, apply, okay. This guy's like an anomaly. Oh, I know. Is he? Yep, it's that side. So, haha. What did we do? So we created a wall and we had 2 layers of gypsum board, one on the outside and one on the inside. So if we want a wall that's wood on the outside, has to be sash on the outside, and for the other layer of gypsum board under the edit type, so click on my wall, edit type, we're messing with its layers, right? So we have core boundaries, we have sash and sash. I'm going to do a guess. So actually, let me see. If I click preview, and it's showing me what I'm seeing, and this is the wall, so 7 is, if this is 1 at the top, and this is 7, let's see what happens if I change this one to be default mass material, which I'm hoping is blue like that. So see how it changed it? So now on one side it's sash and on the other side it's default mass material, which is that blue color. See? So we just have to think about it as layers that we're applying materials to so that we can decorate, right? Everybody okay? The materials are pretty great. So same thing for carpet. I will show you this. Ooh, look at the carpet. The default carpet's so ugly. Okay, so I'm going to select my carpet wood joist and then edit the type. So under the structure for that, where carpet is the layer, I want a different carpet. Now I could duplicate this, and then there's also, I don't think I provided you with this, so you could Google carpet, contract carpet. If I was going to do Mohawk contract carpet is one that comes to mind, J&J, Lee's, there's lots of them. And then I go into here, contract or commercial carpet, either way, same difference. And look at all these fun things, right? So I'll look at, see what's new, street thread. They too have really nice images that you can do. Let's do this one. Now, certain patterns are beyond the scope of your learning. So when you see something that tiles and repeats a special way, you can do that, but it's not necessarily something I'm going to take my time to teach you in this class, just for what time we have. And so try to pick something that you're not doing too fancy. If you want to do fancy, you're getting fancy on your own in this situation, unless we have like lots of time at the end. So I'm just going to save this picture as this little tiny one, although I know there's a high-res macro 941 in my desktop. I'm going to go back in here, and under appearance, it's now red. Boo, hiss. I'm going to go under my image and edit image. And it's going to pop open my menu over here. Now what I have found is sometimes if a picture is too small, it'll come in really funky, which we might see in this case because I didn't choose the high-res image. That's a good thing to experience. So desktop, macro 941, Okay, it looks like it's gonna work actually. So I'm gonna do done. I'm gonna click apply and okay. And okay, okay. And there it is. I've got my beautiful carpet. Now I could adjust the size and the way it tiles, but for this week, if you just pick something that you like that's not red, that's okay, and it's a step in the right direction. The geometric ones with like the sharper lines seem to do pretty good. Solids of different colors do really good. We can adjust lots of things though. Like within here, you saw with the scale of that chair, I can adjust the scale of this carpet. I could get a bigger image to cover a larger space, things like that. You can do red if you really want to do red, Sam. I just think blood red carpet is a little obnoxious. Have any of you ever read Goodnight Moon? There's this hilarious article on my Facebook about the writers of Goodnight Moon, and it's about like, we just have to read it sometime. It's about the interior designers had a conversation where like, what would go good with the children's red carpet? Green walls and a tiger skin rug and yellow furniture. That's way overscaled. I don't know. Only a designer would find it funny. It was a hilarious article. All right. So easy peasy, right? You get all your carpet in. You can do wood too. So it's not resigned to carpet, even though it says carpet. So again, just a JPEG. If it's carpet, only because it's tiled as carpet is it carpet. If I were to go into that carpet, select my carpet, if it'll let me, and edit the type, and even though it says carpet on top of wood trusses, if I was to be sneaky and lazy and came in here and for finished carpet, I actually ended up picking like wood plank. So under AC materials, I did, let's say tile even, because maybe this will be a quicker example. And I do this porcelain tile, and I do, okay. You do not prove me wrong, you Revit. So let's see if it just didn't stick because I didn't hit apply. Carpet 2. We're gonna do, oh, I know why. You know why. Tile. I don't like that I can't see the tile. It's because I didn't drag it up. Oh, I did drag it up. Aha! So, it's not because it's just named carpet that we can do that, but if we're lazy and we do that, it's not going to render the same way. Tile, when we choose something that's tiled to start, will have a shinier property to it. It'll think about the depth of the grout. When we choose carpet, it'll have a least shinier quality to it. So that's why we do that, but when you're pressed for time, sure. It's just a JPEG that's being tiled over a surface. Okay. All right, let me see if there's anything else. We can apply materials to walls. We can apply materials to furniture, floors, and everything else, columns. We could create new wall types and just sub them in and out without deleting any of the walls we've already created. Your doors have materials. Your windows have materials. So you can find their materials under your properties browser and edit them for the most part. If you have trouble, you can ask me. All right, are there questions from tonight? I will put the most updated version of this up. I can talk about the homework really quick. So your homework is to do this, but if you go under our class and you go under modules, let's go under 10, application unit 3. Use rubric for grading and edit instruction. So there's the rubric. You get 10 points for adding your ceilings, 10 for adding your floors, 10 for adding restroom fixtures, 20 points for adding a break room cabinet / copy room mail area. So I didn't remember from your plans if all of you did have a break room, but if you don't have a break room in an office environment, you should all have some type of mail or copy area that you would have base cabinetry for. If you are doing that instead of a break area where you're putting your base cabinetry in, although we're putting in all of our furniture, then I would say you do have to do the vanity sink base in the bathroom. If you're going to do a wall-mounted bathroom sink, then you have to do the cutout in your break room. So somewhere I need to see the process of cutting something out, having a sink dropped into it. So I say that under the longer description. You may have a pedestal sink or wall hung, but you must then have a sink cut out in your kitchen. You can change the materials. You're not locked into anything I have. You can have a circle instead of a square, so on and so forth. You must have a sink base with a cutout in either the kitchen or the restroom. You must have upper cabinets, lower cabinets, countertops. You must supply materials. Tell me where we did the cutout, or will you know? I will know because it'll have the sink base, the countertop, and the sink. If your countertop and sink are one unit, I'll know you brought it in that way. If you just do a wall hanging one with no cabinetry under it, then I'll know it's not that type. Okay. All right. So there's little extra details, and then add the furniture with the materials applied. So you're going to those manufacturer sites, getting the furniture, picking fabrics you like, picking flooring fabrics or materials that you like, tile, so on and so forth. We're getting as much of that done. This is a 2-week project. We for sure want all of our furniture in. The materials, like being completely changed on things all across the board, might be the thing that suffers if you're going to let something suffer, but like getting things in, that's the #1 priority so we can start locking in space. Okay, so besides from the crazy ceiling plan being odd today, how did you feel about this layout? Book? Returning to the book? Sticking with lecture, back and forth? No book. Okay. Okay. Okay, good. So we'll focus on this unit. I'll upload my notes every week, and then I'll upload a rubric like this every week, and we can finish out this building. So like next week we'll do elevations and schedules for this building, and by the end of it we'll pretty much have a fully completed project all together with really nice materials and rendering. So there'll be little bumps along the way, especially because of the 2017-16 thing. They just won't update my computer yet. But between me and Katie Davis, we're going to get it figured out. So I knew when I had questions as opposed to the book where I just do what it says with no thought attached. Great. Okay, good. All right, I'm glad you liked it. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good night.